Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Sal, Stretford Post. How you're doing? And welcome to another episode of Chatterbox. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's doing fine and having a good day, guys. Absolutely. Trying to keep away from Man United and all that news, all that shebang, what's going on in regards to Garnacho. Of course, we spoke about it earlier on, which was a little bit, crazy, wasn't it? Because there are actually people out there who actually trying to defend it. I don't understand it. I really don't understand where people's mentality is when they're trying to defend something like that. An action that puts a club into disrepute. I don't really understand it, if I'm being honest with you guys. But there are actually people out there, each to their own. They want to support it, but that's up to them. But now, guys, before I start properly, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And please don't forget to smash a like on the video, guys. We got some news about alternative strikers that Man United could be looking at. Are Man United looking at the unknown, to be honest with you? We got news about an Everton striker that could be coming to Manchester United. What is that all about? We'll delve into that, of course, very, very soon, guys, because the fan base is getting frustrated. They're getting very frustrated. It does look like the deals will be done at the end of the month, stroke July. It is next week, really, isn't it? The end of June is the next week, stroke July, which is the beginning of the financial year. And then once the financial year starts, then there is no excuses, to be honest with you. We are no excuses, absolutely. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you all for joining me. Big up, Steve. How you doing, my friend? Are we doing well? Really good to see you. Big up, Rajat. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you, mate. Hope you're good. Like you see, Bremo bid shortly. Okay, mate. Sally, what's going on, Hesty? How you doing, my friend? How you doing? Good to see you. Evening, Bill. Hope you're well, my friend. Give me some news. Give me some news. Big up, Pell. What's going on? Hope you're doing well as well. You joined me on the late show. Big up yourself. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, look, I'm going to get straight into it. Manchester United are on the brink of signing Embremo. Embremo should be a Manchester United player by the 1st of July. As we know, the fiscal year, the financial year starts on the 1st of July, which means that Man United will be getting most of their deals done around that time, around that period. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be a here we go or an Ornstein bomber or something along those lines. But the deals should be over the line by the 1st of July. If they don't get over the line by the 1st of July, of course, the preseason training starts on the 7th of July. We should be starting to jump up and down and getting angry and raising the ante up on these guys, to be honest with you guys. But yes, the Embremo deal should be done by then. But the striker situation has taken a turn. Manchester United are looking at alternative strikers to fit the void, of course, to get goals for Manchester United. Goals are very short last year, weren't they? So Man United, of course, were looking at Igor Jesus, of course, the Botafogo player who's playing in the World Cup at the moment. I spoke about him earlier, but we're also looking at the likes of Beto from Everton. That is another player an ex-Man United player has said that Man United should buy Beto. This is what it is, right? So Man United are looking at Beto at the moment. Beto of Everton. I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I'm hearing rumours and slurs that Man United could make a bid for Beto. I'm not too sure about that player, to be honest. Another one that's been on this channel quite a lot. We've spoken about him quite a lot. Of course, another former Everton player is Moise Kean. Moise Kean, the Italian international, currently plays in Italy. I rate this player. I rate this player highly, but is he the guy who's going to get us the goals? Is he the guy who's going to be prolific for Manchester United? Is he that guy? I'm not too sure, guys. I'll be honest with you guys. In regards to Moise Kean, I'm not the biggest fan of Moise Kean. I'm really not the biggest fan of Moise Kean. Although, look, let me just put it like this, right? He's a good player, but he fouled in the Premier League the first time. So obviously, we remember that, don't we? That he fouled in the Premier League the first time. So obviously, there's going to be a little bit of bad memories in regards to that. Of course. How's it going, Lebo? How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, mate. I hope you're good, my friend. Good to see you. Hesty, enough about Garnacho today. Being so frustrated. Hesty, look, I'm not going to talk about it, to be honest with you. I made my piece about it. It's done and dusted. What I would like is that I would like an explanation and apology, and that's about it. And then we move on from it, because at the end of the day, people make mistakes, and that's the way it is at the end of the day. Some more than others, of course, but people make mistakes. But one thing I cannot fathom is some of the fan base who are backing it and trying to defend it. I really don't understand this new school fan. I actually don't, because wearing the colours of your football club is the most important thing, and wearing the colours with pride, not wearing a rival Premier League club, if you know what I mean, is it isn't a good move. It isn't a good look, to be honest with you. And it just further ridicules Manchester United, doesn't it? We've had a bad enough season already, and this just adds salt to the wound, doesn't it? When you're promoting other football clubs. Imagine what Aston Villa must be thinking at the moment. I hasten to think. But anyway, let's get on to some more positive news in regards to transfer news. Manchester United have Moise Kean on their radar, and a striker that they admire, along with Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins, of course, Aston Villa player, done very well a couple of years ago before the Euros, scoring goals for fun, scoring goals for England. One of the highly rated strikers in England, to be honest with you. 29 years old, still around 40 million euros, 3 years left on his contract. What do you make of Ollie Watkins? I mean, he's experienced. He's an experienced Premier League striker, but do you think he will fit the void for Man United? Do you think he could score for Man United? He hasn't done as well recently, has he? For Aston Villa, he hasn't done that well. But there is rumours about a deal coming in for Mason Mount and Ollie Watkins. So that could be very interesting there. That is one to keep an eye on. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Just like Richard Rios is one to keep an eye on, because I mentioned that many, many months ago. And then other journalists, tier 3 journalists, suggest that, we're going to sign Richard Rios, even though I mentioned it years ago, of course, months ago, of course. Good evening, Sal. Ollie Watkins missed so many chances. They said that we do not sign 30-year-old. What's going on? I mean, Ephraim, back in the old days, Man United didn't used to sign 30-year-olds. Alex Ferguson notoriously didn't used to sign 30-year-olds. I think he broke the mold when it was Teddy Sheringham. And the player had to be a absolute unique type of player that fitted the system. Alex Ferguson religiously didn't want to sign players over 30 years old. Nowadays, Man United seem to be in desperation mode, unfortunately. So players that are deemed the substitute players are going to be pushed forward to the first. Hopefully not. Hopefully these are just rumours. Hopefully this is not true, but I'm just reporting the rumours to you in regards to Ollie Watkins and Moise Kean. Both of them are different types of players, of course. Obviously, Ollie Watkins is proven in the Premier League. He's proven to score goals in the Premier League. And obviously, Moise Kean played in the Premier League, didn't do that well in the Premier League, but another, one on the radar, of course. Beto, however, the Everton player, I don't think he's a bad player, if I'm being honest with you guys. I don't think Beto is a bad shout, if I'm honest. No one's really mentioned Beto recently, so that is an interesting one, of course. Lebo, Lucky Sings, please let it be true. Lucky Sing's the spam of the chat, so don't worry about Lucky Sing, mate. Saying a 250 million war chest for transfers. So saying Man United have a 250 million war chest for transfers. Yes, Man United cannot go over 250 million, otherwise it would affect the FFP and PSR regulations, and they have to abide by that. Then once I do believe that once Man United get Mbeumo through the door, Man United will be looking at to offload players, even though they're looking at doing that at the moment. Jadon Sancho has already distanced himself from a move to Napoli. Napoli don't want him, to be honest with you, if we're being real, because of his wages, and he's not willing to lower his wages demand. Now, if we look at some of the news, guys, in regards to Jadon Sancho, there was this tweet, absolutely. Breaking news, Jadon Sancho has informed Manchester United that any permanent or loan move to happen, the club must cover his wages. There you go, guys. Look at this cheek of this guy. Look at the rudeness of this guy. This guy is in love with himself. The unawareness, the lack of accountability, the delusions of grandeur, isn't it? At the end of the day, goodness me, that's the word of the week, isn't it? And to be honest with you, there you go. That's the sort of mentality we're dealing with. That's the sort of player that we're trying to get offload off our books. You know what I mean? But it's going to be very, very difficult, of course, to offload those players, of course, guys. Absolutely. Ephraim, Sal, is it true that Arsenal are going to bid? I mean, Ephraim, there are two teams who are generally interested in Premier League in regards to Gyökeres, and that's Arsenal and Man United. Don't be surprised if Man United make a move for Gyökeres. Man United have distanced themselves slightly from that deal. They're not really concentrating as much as they would have on that deal. It has quietened down a little bit. The silence is a little bit concerning, but as we said here, we're going to wait till the 1st of July to see what really happens, to be honest with you. Just like Diego Leon and other players will walk into the football club on the 1st of July. Of course, we've got the French striker coming in as well, and the young English lad coming in as well, of course, on the 1st of July. So we've got a couple of players coming in, so that's interesting to see. But In regards to Arsenal, you snooze, you lose. If Arsenal make a bid for him, they'll probably end up getting him, to be honest with you, because, and I did predict this a while ago, that if Man United don't make their move, if Man United don't convince the player, he probably will go to Arsenal. And obviously the Champions League is a big factor in him going to Arsenal, not just about, the club and stuff like that. Ephraim, Sal, I feel Amorim will get what he wants. One thing I would say, Ephraim, if I'm being totally honest with you guys, and I don't know what you think about this, everyone, but what I would say is that if Ruben Amorim doesn't get the transfer targets that he desires, I do believe that he should walk. I think he should walk, because I cannot see how this bunch of players can turn it around. I really can't. I can't see how this bunch of players can make us believe again. I really don't. I think if he doesn't get the players that he needs to a satisfactory level, I think that's it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, because you're trying to, you can lead a cow to the water. It doesn't mean the cow's going to drink from the water, to be honest with you, isn't it? So he's he can't turn these players into superstars. He needs his own players. He does. And Cunha is a start. We had a good start. It's sort of died down since then, hasn't it? It hasn't really progressed since then, which is a little bit disappointing, if I'm being honest, because we had such a good start in the transfer window. Now it's quieting down a little bit. And now we're talking about the 1st of July. After the 1st of July, there's no excuses, guys. Every man for himself. You know what I mean? It's going to get very heated in here. It's going to get toxic. People are going to start questioning things and stuff like that, and I'm going to up the ante. As I said, I'm a little bit calm at the moment. I'm calm. And what I'm like at the moment is just like, okay, you know what I mean? 1st of July, financial year, we get the players through the door, and Bremer comes through the door. Like I'm pretty certain, as I've already said, the Bremer deal is done. That just needs to be announced. Of course, there's going to be lots of speculation because it hasn't been announced yet. So obviously we have to keep an eye out for that on the 1st of July or the end of June. Hopefully we get Here We Go very soon. You know what? It is frustrating, obviously, because people are looking at the likes of Liverpool. They're looking at the likes of Man City. Man City has spent 350 odd million in 6 months. It's ridiculous, isn't it? At the end of the day, madness. Lucky Singh, lots of comments. Lucky Singh. What? Yeah, Lucky. Lucky. Too many. Any news on Embremo? Osak, yeah, just Osak, big up yourself. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I just mentioned about Embremo. The Embremo deal is looking like one of them ones that is going to drag on until the 1st of July. Although I know that the deal is almost done, Man United might be waiting till the fiscal year to announce the deal. Obviously, you know, when you announce a deal, right, at the beginning of the year, the shares and stuff like, look, I'm no expert, but I do know a little bit. I haven't passed the bar, but I do know a little bit about, you know, when you announce something, when you announce a transfer and stuff, it all goes up, doesn't it? The shares and stuff goes up, the share price, and what a way to start the year, the financial year like that. Maybe that's what they're looking at. Maybe that is a money-making thing for them, of course, guys, because it is a brand new year, a brand new financial year. So maybe they're looking into that slightly, you know, but there you go, guys. I didn't pass maths, as everyone knows, so big up yourself. They should sign British Bulldog Keane Cantona. They should sign British Bulldog. You are British Bulldog Keane. And British Bulldog's not around anymore. Keane Cantona, etc. Oh, yeah, British Bulldog wouldn't be bad as a centre-back, would he, British Bulldog? At the end of the day. It wouldn't be bad as a centre-back. I wouldn't mind him at the football club as a goalkeeper. He reminds me of Onana a little bit, to be honest with you. He's got the upper body and stuff like that. Sal, you are better than Moise Keane if you play as a striker for Manchester United. You are better than Moise Keane. I don't know what that means. That's got two meanings. You are better than Moise Keane if you play for a striker for Manchester United. Is Moise Keane a better player if he plays for Manchester United, or is there better players than Moise Keane if he plays for Manchester United? If you know what I mean. Sorry, mate. British Bulldog. I will play for 1 million per year. Bargain, mate. There you go, mate. That's a lot of money, to be honest with you, mate. That's a lot of money for the British Bulldog. If Ollie Watkins helping Mace get out, then I'm fine. But Ruben likes him, so I don't think that'll going to happen. You know what I would say, Hesty, about Ruben Amorim? Ruben Amorim's different. Ruben Amorim, I called him at the beginning before he came to this football club. I called him the smiling assassin. Don't think that everything is absolute, that he loves these players, because at the end of the day, a lot of these players flattered to deceive last season, including Mason Mount. Mason Mount was injured for half of it, you know, and when he did play, he didn't really set the world alight, did he? So that could be just hearsay. Ruben Amorim's not going to come out and say, look, you know what, I don't really rate him. He's going to obviously praise him, isn't he? So it's all up in the air what is going to happen. Would Ruben Amorim prefer one of his own players than the Mason Mount, for example? Do you know what I mean? And that is what I would say in regards to that. Look at the state of Sancho. Sancho is just obviously, we've been cursed with Sancho, to be honest, guys. I think signing Sancho, I was really excited to sign Sancho. When Sancho came through the door, I was so excited. One of my favorite players as well. I was always an advocate for him to play for England. I thought he was better than most of the players. He's really let me down. He really has. And when I look at old Sancho videos and stuff like that, old Dortmund videos, I don't sit down on my own in a dark room watching old Sancho videos, by the way. But when you think about Sancho, when he played for Dortmund, he was skinnier, he was fitter, he was more prolific, he was quicker. Everything about him, he was a fantastic player. He's really let me down. I don't know what's happened to him. Now he's more interested in his Xbox and earning money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But as long as you put your football first, because your football is your bread and butter, it's what gives you that money. It's what gives you that joy. So it gives you the time to play your Xbox, if you know what I mean, So it's very, very disappointing, to be honest with you guys. It really is, absolutely. But yeah, we'll have to move on. Lebo, Sancho should be immortal of himself. In 10 years, he'll look back and say so many regrets. You know what I would say, Lebo? You're spot on there, Lebo. You know what I mean? Big up Lebo Salford, by the way. What I would say is that, a footballer's career is really short. And I've spoken to a lot of ex-footballers. I know a lot of ex-footballers. And one thing is that one of the overriding things that they say, the common theme that they say is that I wish I appreciated it more. I wish when I was playing, I appreciated it more, and many players say that. I've said that to me over the years, and this is what's going to happen with Sancho. Sancho will eventually hit a wall. And he would say, look, you know what? There will be no source of income. No one will want to work with him because obviously his attitude is everything in everything, And, it's gonna hurt him more than it's going to hurt us. We move on. We'll just move on to another player, of course, and we get another player through the door. But in regards to Sancho, he's going to struggle, with that attitude. I just want money sort of attitude. That's fine. You could want money. I'm not saying that it isn't about that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. But your football club should come first, in my opinion. And it baffles me. It baffles me that, he cannot see how lucky he is to play for a club like Manchester United, to play football for a living. You know what? This is the thing, isn't it? A lot of these players don't really know what they've got. They don't really know how important it is to play for a club like Manchester United. They don't know what it's like to earn £6.75 an hour in McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, they don't really know about that sort of thing. And this is the problem with the players these days. Rich too soon, money too soon. And I always said, the worst thing you could possibly do is make an idiot rich too soon. Making an idiot rich anytime is bad enough. But when they're young and you're making them rich as well, it is, it's bad for them. It's bad for their health because they don't really appreciate money, Absolutely. As embarrassed, big up, my friend. Big up. He's 10 years. He'll look back. Should have been. Yeah, I got you. Embarrassing. Should be embarrassing. He should be embarrassed about himself, Lebo. It's embarrassing. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, in 10 years he will look back on something. And I really hope that Jadon Sancho doesn't. Not Jadon Sancho, but Garnacho as well. I really hope that he doesn't look back on this little period in his career because this is a vital period in Garnacho's development, right? I hope he doesn't look back because I'm looking at his pictures on Instagram and the guy doesn't look happy. He looks depressed, right? And I want to know why. All right, you were dropped for the Europa League final for whatever the reason that was. Okay, you weren't happy about it. You went to the media. It wasn't ideal. Why don't you just go up to Ruben Amorim and speak to Ruben Amorim? Speak to Ruben Amorim what you want, what you felt should have happened, why you weren't playing, etc., etc. Why did you have to go to the media? Look, everyone knows, every man and his dog knows I'm a big fan of Garnacho. They know I love Garnacho. They know I think he's going to be a great player. They know that. Unfortunately, he's let me down. Again, players letting me down. I mean, look, let's be quite honest, guys. Last season, everyone let me down to a man. Apart from you could possibly make an argument for Mazraoui or Euro, one of those players, to be honest, and Aiden Heaven and players like that didn't let me down, if I'm being honest. But a majority of those players did let me down. And I was disappointed about them, absolutely. Lebo, Napoli want Jadon Sancho so he would get a wage drop. He's not going to get a wage drop. He's already said, Lucky Singh, that he doesn't want a wage drop, mate. He doesn't want it. He's not going to accept it. So why do you think Amorim did not convince Gyökeres to come? Personally, what I think, and I spoke about this over the weekend, Ephraim. I think that it's up to Gyökeres at the end of the day. Gyökeres made decision. Gyökeres has already made his decision. He's not said anything about where he's going to go yet, but there is rumours it is either Arsenal or Manchester United. Now, the deal is not done. It's not done and dusted. He's not signed for anyone yet, so it is still open for any team to sign him. The odds on Man United signing him is pretty slim because obviously we're not in the Champions League and he is looking for Champions League football. Do you blame him? He's 26, 27. He's going to want Champions League football. Playing for Man United at the moment, and realistically, when you look at Man United as a football club, if you're a player on the outside reaching the peak years of his career, are you going to be like, you know what? Yeah, Man United's my team. Or you're going to go, look, Arsenal's more of a finished project. I would say Man United, of course, because I love the football club. But someone like Gyökeres who doesn't love the football club will be like, you know what, I'm going to pick Arsenal. And it's sad, but of course. Bill, Sal, I get exactly what you're saying about Amorim's walking. He was so frustrated last season and took so much time flat for the poor team. One thing I said, Bill, I said that if there is any manager that is going to walk, it is going to be Ruben Amorim. I think Ruben Amorim is the only manager at Man United's history, apart from Sir Alex, who could possibly walk. Because I look at him and you can see that he really cares about the club. He really cares about being successful. But you could see that some of those players don't care about being successful. They don't care about, maybe some of them do. Maybe some of them do, but maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe the shirt's too heavy. As I said earlier, maybe the shirt is too heavy, which is why when they leave the football club, they go on and some of them play better. Not great, but better, Strange, isn't it? Big up, Bill. Hesty, that's what I'm worried. Ruben walking away. I like him so much already. I like him a lot. And you know what? One thing I cannot understand is people who are turning against Ruben Amorim last season, not understanding the context. It's exactly what I said when Eric Ten Hag was around. They're not understanding the context. They're not understanding the problems at this football club, the cultural problems at this football club that run deep. They're not really looking at that in a fair way in regards to Ruben Amorim. And I really do hope that he doesn't walk. I mean, hopefully, fingers crossed, he gets the backing that he deserves this summer, and we're finished after the transfer window. We're looking back on the transfer window and we're saying, well, you know what, Ineos, they done well. You know what I mean? They done well, and I will give my credit where it's due. I will give credit where it's due. I will praise them where it's due. Do you know what I mean? So let's hopefully they do. Big up, Ephraim. Thank you so much, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, Mark. How you doing, my friend? How you doing? Hope you're well. So, do you believe there is any chance of earth that Barcelona let poisonous Rashford anywhere near Yamal? Look, you know what I'm saying? There's rumours of them signing, obviously, Bergville. Isn't it Bergville? They're going to sign Bergville. They're already signing Nico Williams, of course. So I don't see where Marcus Rashford fits into their plans. Personally, I think it's literally 10% on Rashford going to Barcelona. I don't think these teams are stupid. I honestly think that some of these players are not aware what they do in public. Sometimes I think that they're not aware. They're not, self-aware. They don't really know what they do. They don't really know how, they actually, what it is, right? Let me get my words out. What it is that I think they've had smoke blown up their backsides for so long. In particular, in this case, Marcus Rashford, his agent is his brother, that they actually believe their own hype. They actually think that they can't do anything wrong. And, when someone criticizes them, they're like, what? How dare you? My brother says this, my brother says that about me. And this is the problem. This is the problem at Man United. Self-accountability. That's what it is. Self-accountability. And they cannot take the accountability, guys. I would much rather bring in a Beto, a Moise Kean, Ollie Watkins than have Marcus Rashford at the football club. Because I know for certain, well, almost certain, that these players are going to give their all for the club, for the badge, because they would appreciate playing for the football club. Just like Cunha. When you look at Cunha, you know what I mean? It's like a kid in a toy shop when he signed for Man United. That is the sort of look I want from a player that is about to sign for Man United, or a player who plays for Manchester United, of course. Ephraim, Sal, what's the best quote in football you like the most? What's the best quote? Football's the most important thing of the unimportant things. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. Football's the most important thing of the unimportant things. So I would say that, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. Another quote I really do like is, youth will seldom let you down. If you don't give youth a chance, they will stagnate and drift away into the abyss. Always important to give youth a chance. Youth, courage and success. That is what Manchester United are all about, of course, guys. Absolutely. Big up, Paul. What's going on, my friend? Sal, I sent you a message on Insta and I can't send a message on Twitter because my account is not verified. Can you send me your email? Yeah, I'll send it. How do I send it to you, mate? I'll check my Instagram. Did you send it to Stretford Post Instagram? I'll check my Instagram, mate. Let me see if I got it. 1 second. 1 second, mate. Let me see if I got it. I haven't got it on Instagram, but let me have a look. Quest. Oh, this must be it. 1 second. Ball plays. Yeah, I've accepted it. Yeah, I've got it on Google, mate. I'll open it up. Thank you. Pool plays, yeah? Pool plays 10. I will open up. I will open it up a bit later, my friend. After the stream, I'll have a look, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, mate. Rajat, what about him? What's that, Rajat? Sorry, Rajat, lost you, mate. Remember, Amorim said he will always back his players. Amorim behind the scenes will be push and push. Bill, you know what? One thing, you know what? If there's any manager that reminds me of Sir Alex Ferguson in regards to his managerialism and being ruthless, it's Ruben Amorim. I think he is totally underrated, and I really do hope that next season he shuts a lot of people up because there's a lot of doubts out there. I want him to perform next season. I want the team to perform next season. I want those media outlets, the Talk Sport, the ESPN, the FC, to actually muster praising Man United. Can you imagine them actually praising Manchester United? Can you actually imagine them saying nice things about Man United? God forbid, Talk Sport saying nice things about Man United. You wouldn't believe it, would you? LT, big up Sal. The sales of Rashford and Garnacho and Sancho are becoming more and more necessary to be done swiftly because he can't go on being ridiculed and disrespected by these players. Exactly, LT. Can you imagine all those players getting together and talking amongst each other about the manager? I can imagine that happening, can't you? I can imagine that. We need to get rid of these toxic players. I cannot emphasize it enough. These players are toxic. They need to leave this football club ASAP, guys. They need to go. We've had enough. We've had enough. We've had it up to here, guys, in regards to these players. I'm tired of them, and they just need to go and leave this football club. Look, Sancho's going to be difficult because Sancho is a mercenary, as we know. He'll probably want to stay and run down the last year of his contract, isn't it? It's a tough one. Thank you, Murto and Woodward, by the way. Your care is 27 years and probably his last opportunity to fight for Champions League. So I understand if he goes to the club that gives him the most chance of trophies. That's one thing I understand, Hesty. I don't have any bones about it. I'm not bitter about it. I'm not everything about it because at the end of the day, when you're 27, you're looking at Man United. When are Man United going to be in the Champions League? The earliest Man United could be in the Champions League is the year after next. So that is when he's 28, 29, isn't it? So look, at the end of the day, what's playing the Champions League, we move on. And that's what Man United should do. Just bring in a striker, move on, get the Embremo deal done, bring in a striker, bring in a goalkeeper, and then obviously we think about everything else afterwards. Big up the channel. Big up Abdullah Irwan. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining me, my friend. Hope you're good. Ephraim. So if you have to keep Garnacho, Rashford, and Anthony, who do you keep? If I'm being honest, at the moment, right now, at this very moment, I would have picked Garnacho. It was one of my favorite players, guys. It was one of my favorite players. I would have picked Garnacho. But at this present moment in time, I'm picking Anthony. That is the only one I say all that. And the reason I pick Anthony is because Anthony's actually gone out there and proven a point. He's actually gone out there and performed. That is the only one. That's the one I would pick at the moment. If Garnacho came out and said, "Look, I was ill informed. I shouldn't have worn the jersey. I meant no harm. I'm sorry," and this and that, then we move on, and then I would like Garnacho back. Absolutely. Garnacho could be Frankenstein's younger brother. Big up, Bill. Big up, my friend. Big up. Sal, we got Ronaldo's song for Garnacho. Then he did that to the fans. Absolutely disgrace. Look, at the end of the day, Ephraim, let's be honest with ourselves. There is a portion of the fan base that haven't treated Garnacho well either. He is a young player. He's 20 years old. And, there are some people have platforms as well, and they don't understand the damage that they do as well. I don't deal with things in absolutes. I don't deal with things on one side and say that, it's always fault. No. But some of the fan base have been a bit mean to him as well. And obviously, unfortunately, mentally, he's not strong enough. And I would say that if you haven't got that mentality to be strong enough, I go back to when David Beckham used to play for Manchester United, when he got all that abuse after the 1990 World Cup. If you haven't got that mentality to handle that sort of pressure, Man United is not the club for you, of course. Lebo, there's players in the squad from 5 different manager systems. You think someone can turn that around in 6 months? Not happening. He's going to need at least 2 or 3 solid transfers. Thank you so much, Lebo. You know what you're talking about. Very good comment from Lebo there. He's spot on. And this is one thing about it. When Sir Alex Ferguson left Man United didn't have a direction. It was shocking for me to see that we were employing managers without any fault. So we would employ David Moyes. Yeah, then we go employ Louis van Gaal. Then we go and employ Jose Mourinho. Then Solskjaer. Then Ragnick. You know, and then Eric Ten Hag, and then, you know, in between that, we got Carrick and Giggs and things like that. And you're looking at it, there's no direction that this club is going to. So over the last 13 years, there's a complete backlog, a complete mess, a complete utter chaos at Man United with players that have been there since the Louis van Gaal days. For goodness sake, we're looking at 11 years, over 11 years that the likes of Rashford and Luke Shaw have been playing for this football club, stinking out the place. You know what I mean? And this is exactly right, Lebo. Ruben Amorim needs a lot longer. He needs a lot longer to build his own team. We are in a unique position, Man United, because we are not Liverpool. We are not Man City. We're not Chelsea at the moment. We are in a toxic mess. And I'm telling you right now that around 10 players need to leave that football club now. Right now. And 10 players need to come in. It needs a completely different environment. Completely different. Number one is getting rid of Sancho and Rashford, getting that toxicity at the football club and moving on to new players. Because at the end of the day, once we override the squad with Ruben Amorim's players, the rest of the players are just gonna feel uncomfortable and they're gonna end up leaving eventually, hopefully. Ruben Amorim did do this at Sporting Lisbon. He did remove 25 players, wasn't it? Around that amount of players. Completely removed it, including some fan favourites, you know, and some players who were prolific for him, who were scoring goals, you know. He removed them because he felt that they were toxic. And hopefully he gets the opportunity and he gets the authority to do that at this football club. Absolutely. Ephraim. Barcelona and Real Madrid do not mess up with their players' attitude. Absolutely not. Big up, Tybo. What's going on, brother? I hope you're doing well. The Glazers and their bankers allowed the culture at United. This happening while you don't have proper footballing people in charge. These are just spoiled kids who became millionaires too early. Exactly, Tybo. But the worst thing we did was throw money at these players. We threw money at these players and, you know, they were rich too soon, you know, and they didn't appreciate the value of money. They didn't appreciate the value of playing football, how lucky you are to play football. Do you know what I mean? You know, they don't, I mean, Alex Ferguson used to always talk about the coal mines, right? The miners in regards to the workers, the job, right? And he always used to talk about how these miners would work so hard, you know, and spend their hard-earned money on watching Manchester United once a week at the time or twice a week, and how lucky they were, you know, these players to play for football for a living. And their job was to entertain these miners and win a football match for these workers who work very hard and spend the hard-earned money on it. Unfortunately, these days, these players they're misinformed about life in general. They don't know the value of money. They don't know the value of, you know, playing for a football club like Man United. Some of them, I don't think, care about the history of Man United. And as I've always said, a lot of these players are standing on the shoulders of giants, right? They're standing on the shoulders of Cantona, Sir Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law, George Best, Duncan Edwards. You know, they're standing on the shoulders of greats, you know, and they don't quite understand their luck. They don't quite understand that who built this football club, who made this football club into what it is, you know, who made this football club as popular it is, who gave you a platform to be earning 200,000 to 300,000 a week. It certainly wasn't them. You know what I mean? Watkins all day long. Nugable, what's going on? Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Absolutely. Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Man United make a last-minute deal for a guy like that. Sal, did you hear Garnacho and Rashford are not friends? Said Samuel Luckhurst. I don't know. I don't really know. One thing I would say is that they're probably not best of friends. Rashford did say that Garnacho is a CR7 wannabe. He did say that. And about Garnacho, I think it was actually his agent who said that CR7 is a CR7 wannabe. So they do make fun of Garnacho, you know, and there you go right there, guys. That is exactly what it is. There you go right there. That is the culture problem at this football club. That is where we all go wrong, guys. That is where it all goes wrong. But there you go. It is a negative. This negative aspect around Man United, you know, is exhausting. It's exhausting. And I do hope that it does end up leaving. But in regards to transfers, guys, I mean, hopefully Man United will get those transfers done by the 1st of July, guys. The end of June, the 1st of July, as I've always said, guys, Man United should hopefully get some of those deals over the line. And hopefully then we would feel a lot more confident and reassured in regards to the direction in which we're going at the moment, guys. Because at the moment, we're not going in any particular direction. We're just sitting there like lemmings, waiting for the deals to be done and hoping and praying that we get the deals through the door. Because at the end of the day, these players right here, we're going to have a smaller squad next season. These players, They're not the ones. They're not the ones. Only a few of them are the ones. So it's really important that Man United get the transfers over the line. And when we end up playing Arsenal in the first game of the season, we are ready. We are ready with our team, with our attack, with Umbrella, with Cunha and the striker and a goalkeeper. And we are ready to fight, guys. That's what I want. I want us to have a fighting chance here. I want us to have a fighting chance. And I want us to destroy Arsenal in the first game of the season. And what confidence would that bring? What morale would that bring? You know, what confidence boost would that do? You know, absolutely brilliant. You know, it can work both ways. Man United can approach that game, we lose that game, and it's an uphill challenge, or we can lose it, and you know, or we can win it, and it's all everyone's game, of course. Bill, if Arsenal get Yoke areas, we should go for Sesko. Probably right, Bill. You're probably right, mate. Randy, keep Sancho, let him train alone, and find him every little mistake that reduces his wages. Big up, Randy. Hope you're doing well. Cruel to be kind. Garnacho not going to apologize. He even reposted that post on IG story today. Then Hesty, I would say this as a guy who's experienced football, watched football for a very long time. He's going to regret that. It's his problem. I don't really care. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Man United will move on. Man United will move on. He don't understand. There are people who supported him at this football club. There are people who backed him, including myself, at this football club, and openly said, we back you, Garnacho. You're going to be a great player. You know, just because you suffer a little adversity, it doesn't mean that you throw your rattles at your pram. This is just a big baby at the end of the day. You don't throw your rattles at your pram. You know, you look at things in a way that, oh, well, you know what? Maybe as a point and this and that. And think about what your actions. Think about what your actions are. At the end of the day, instead of going to the media after the Europa League final, making it all about yourself when other players are making it about the team, even players that didn't play, right? Why didn't you go to Ruben Amorim and speak to Ruben Amorim face to face and tell him there? You know, man to man to man. You look at the likes of Kobe Mainoo. Kobe Mainoo was dropped more times and didn't play more times than Garnacho last season, right? He's an England international, okay? Played in the Euros final, and he didn't get picked as much as Garnacho. He weren't out there moaning to the media. He weren't doing any subliminal Instagram posts and things like that. And until this day, he hasn't done that. Do you know what I mean? Then you open up a big can of worms, don't you? You open up a big can of worms in regards to Bruno likes to tweet, Rasmus likes to tweet. You know, other people start liking the tweet, and then people start getting sinister. They start getting sinister thoughts. What's going on here? What's going on? Bruno liking a tweet, our captain, you know? Tybog, in this moment, it seems like getting rid of these three players must be a priority. We just can't allow these people around destroying other young players' mentality. This will affect the whole team. Tybog, you know what? Some things go beyond money, don't they? And I think that if those players came back into the football club, including Garnacho, Rashford, and Sancho, the gruesome threesome, if they came back into the football club and you know, they can cause havoc. The mouth, you know, is like a sword. You know what I mean? They can call the mouth. The words can be more potent than a sword, should I say? I mean, I'm bringing back my old English classes at school and stuff. The sword is more potent than word. I don't know, whatever it was. Anyway, but what I would say is that, you know, they could cause damage to the younger players that we have in the squad, and we have got a lot of young players in the squad at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want those players to be infected by these guys. I don't. I would absolutely put them in the reserves until they're gone. I would absolutely train them separate from all the players. You know what I mean? You can't help them talking to each other away from it, but I would absolutely move them onto the reserves and split them up and put them, you know, far away from the team during training. Absolutely. Big up, Tybo. Great comment as usual, my guy. When I first listened to Amorim speaking to the press and being fairly honest, I thought that was a proper manager. That's what I was thinking, Bill. Exactly what I was thinking. Not over the top. He was telling the truth, not sugarcoating anything. He told us the truth. And that's what we need to know. He told us the truth. Unfortunately, sadly, some of his verbal communication with the press became more and more, how would I say it, more and more formal. It became more and more less himself, and it became more formal because obviously media were taking his words, taking them out of context, twisting them and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And you know what? All over the newspaper, you know, he said that this is the worst Man United team in history. Is he lying? Is he lying though? Come on, guys. He's the worst Man United team in history. You know what I mean? You know, he talks about players and he was honest. He was honest, but having to say, look, I didn't mean that, I apologize and stuff like that. I don't want him to do that anymore. He needs to just stick to his guns because we got nothing to lose, guys. We got nothing to lose. LT, these sales need to be done before preseason because if reports are true, Amman won't allow these two with the squad post-season and devalues them, and we don't need the toxicity. Yeah, Man United are going to America, guys. You know what I mean? So I don't think that Ruben Amorim wants these players at the football club, to be honest with you, going to the American tour to play Leeds United and to play other Premier League teams. I don't think he wants them in the squad. I think he wants to leave them at home, and he has every right to do that. But you're absolutely right, LT, about the price. It does devalue these players. These players have already been devalued. Garnacho's already been devalued. You know, like now he's worn an Aston Villa jersey. Aston Villa could come in and say, well, we want to buy Garnacho, but we're only going to offer 30 million because they know that he's already worn an Aston Villa jersey. They already know that he doesn't want to play for the football club. So, you know, it's a stupid move. It's a stupid move. And it was a misinformed move too. I don't know who's dealing with his social media, but it was the wrong thing to do. And anyone who backs this, who says, oh, it's being blown out of proportion, you're the reason that the club is so on its knees. And no, you are the reason the club is on its knees because you don't quite understand what the badge means, what it means to wear a football jersey that is not your football jersey. I mean, I'm not talking about Roma. I'm not talking about them sort of teams in Italy. I'm talking about Premier League teams. And yes, Ahmad is to blame as well. Yes, he's to blame as well, wearing a Brighton top. It's misinformed. You just don't do it. They're Premier League teams. I don't care the context. You don't do it. You should not, anyway, you should not wear a jersey that you're not contractually obliged to wear. You know, because if you play for Man United, you wear the Man United jersey. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of Rashford jerseys out there that he could have picked up. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of shirts, that Man United shirts that Dorgu could have wore or Ahmad could have wore instead of wearing a rival top. Do you know what I mean? And rival, I don't mean rival as in Liverpool, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal. I'm talking about rival, Premier League rival, because at the end of the day, they are rivals. They are rivals. I don't think anyone quite understands that. They're going to be rivals for top four. They're going to be rivals for European football. So they are rivals. Absolutely. Randy, Anthony was scared when Amorim asked him to play left back and did not. Yeah, and he said something very rude to him as well. Very rude. Anthony said to Amorim. Sal, do you think the culture will change as long as the Glazers are here? Ephraim, it's going to be very, very difficult. So what Man United need to do, to be honest with you, is Man United need to get a divide here, right, between the ownership and the football. So Man United need to cut off the Glazers completely and say, like, we concentrate on this side of things, which is the football side of things. Unfortunately, someone like Joel Glazer wants to get involved with everything. He's always in there. He's always in and involved. He was involved in the Eric Ten Hag sacking, the Eric Ten Hag keeping as well. He was involved in that. So it's very difficult to do things without the Glazers being involved. The reason Man United are taking so slow, as I said this morning, is that Man United will make a bid to Brentford. Brentford will say we want this much money. Man United can make a £63 million bid. Brentford say we want 65. He would tell, for example, Barada would tell, Joel Glazer. Joel Glazer will ring up Avram Glazer, and it will go back and forth. And it isn't like that quickly. It actually goes quite slowly. And that is why the deals get delayed, because of the Glazers. It's upstairs. And that is why the cultural problem as is at this football club, and it will remain whilst they still have power at this football club, Stephen, what's going on, my friend? And why is there no Deadwood sold yet, mate? At the end of the day, hopefully we get some news after the fiscal year, when the fiscal year starts on the 1st of July, mate. But rumours are spreading fast and furious. In regards to Sancho, the Napoli stories, he doesn't want to take a pay cut. Of course. So what does that mean? Napoli don't want to pay him that wages. Napoli are not stupid to pay him 300,000 a week. Absolutely not. They're not going to do that. Absolutely not. And this is precisely why it's difficult to get rid of these players, in particular Rashford and Sancho. In regards to Garnacho, there won't be any shortcomings in regards to Garnacho and teams that want him. There are bids on the table at the moment. They are undisclosed, so we cannot really declare what it is. But there are bids on the table. But the problem is that Alejandro Garnacho's value has decreased significantly, to be honest. Significantly, because of all the dramas that have been surrounding him over this last few weeks. Do you know what I mean? Months, we could say. So at the end of the day, look, hopefully we get some deals done very, very quickly. Man United could spend up to 250 million, so that's not really an excuse. Man United could still sign up to 250 million worth of players, and by that time, then they can start moving on and moving some players on and bringing in some more players, of course, guys. They think we're stupid, don't they? We have seen the FFP PSR's table at the end of the day, haven't we, guys? Absolutely. Big up, Kenny. Big up, my friend. Hope you do well. Coach can't deal with them. Absolutely. Coach can't deal with them. Coach does deal with them, mate. There is a player power needs to go. Absolutely. Ruben Amorim does deal with them, and he deals with them well. I mean, at the end of the day. But what do you want him to do? And they're contracted to play for Man United until 28. What do you want him to do? They're getting 300 grand a week. What do you want him to do? To be honest with you, he's done his best. To be honest, I don't know what else he can do. Player power needs to go. Absolutely, Davizas. This is because of the other. Great news. As soon as we do Embremo, we can move to top other tasks. Absolutely. Embremo deal is imperative for Man United. I've set my heart on Embremo. Absolutely. Embremo playing for Man United next season. I'm so excited about that. He's probably the one I'm really excited about, because having him and Cunha in that team, if they play together, which I think they should play together, to be honest with you, I do believe that Bruno's going to move to the number 8. Whatever people think about that, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I do believe that. But what I would say is that, yeah, I'm excited about Embremo coming to the football club. Can't wait. So hopefully nothing stupid happens, of course. Just over a week to go. Come on, Dabizas. Big up, my friend. I was playing football yesterday, and I'm 52 and not played for it. Imagine these sport kids not being motivated enough while playing football and being paid millions for me, because exactly, Tyborg, they don't understand the value of money. They don't understand. There was a player. Let me bring in this story again. There was a player. I used to know a friend of mine. His name was, I'm not going to give his name, but his name was Paul, right? Let's call him Paul. He used to know Aaron Lennon. Do you remember Aaron Lennon, the ex-Tottenham player and England player? Right. Basically, they were both going to, they were friends. So they were both going to a wedding. And Paul, my friend as well, went to a suit place where they sell wedding suits and stuff like that. And basically, Paul saw this suit, and he really liked this suit. But the problem was, this suit was 1,000 something pounds, or 1,500 euro, let's say, right? So Paul said to Aaron, I like that suit. So Aaron Lennon said to him, why don't you get it? So Paul replied, he said, because it's £1,000. I can't afford £1,000. It's too much to pay for a suit for a wedding. Aaron Lennon could not believe he couldn't afford £1,000 for a suit. He could not believe that £1,000. He was like, £1,000? That's nothing. What do you mean £1,000? You can't afford £1,000. Are you broke? They can't. This is the thing. They're so out of touch. These footballers, and he weren't one of the highest paid footballers. They're so out of touch on how lucky they are, how much money they earn, because they've never witnessed real life work. They've never witnessed it. They haven't worked in supermarkets. They haven't been a fishmonger, a butcher. You know what I mean? Like I have, a baker, like I have. You know what I mean? They haven't done all these things in their life to build themselves up. They don't know the value of playing football and being paid to play football. They don't. Sadly, they don't. And some of them are so delusional. Some of them are like, well, I deserve this. I deserve to be playing for Man United. I deserve to be playing football for a living. When they don't, it's luck at the end of the day. Look, you could believe in anything, right? You could say that the hardest worker is the one that goes through. Yeah, hard work is part of football. It is part of football. And when you become a professional, it's very, very important. But let's not pretend that favoritism doesn't enter the equation as well. Favoritism does enter the equation a lot in football, actually. You could be related to someone. You could be, you could be like the son of a footballer, and you're going to become a footballer. It's exactly what Cristiano Ronaldo said about his son. He was asked the question, do you think that your son will keep the hunger? And Cristiano Ronaldo said, that's the problem, That's the problem. He knew the problem. He knew that his son has been raised rich. He knew his son didn't have to sweep the streets like Cristiano Ronaldo did, isn't it? So these people, they don't, this is the problem. This is why I don't always agree with footballers' sons becoming footballers, because they won't have the same hunger. They won't have the same desire. They won't have that mindset where they're going to put their foot in, and make that crunching tackle. And this is exactly what I've been thinking about I think about it all the time in regards to football, The street footballer, the street footballer, and I know I'm swinging around in roundabouts here, but sorry, guys, bear with me. But the street footballer is dying. And I think that when the street footballer dies, that is when football truly has lost its identity, you know? Absolutely. Big up, Tybo. EC, I'm sick and tired of these players. They are the opposite of Man United represents. When Fergie retired, it was like they took that United culture with them and they were left with this mess. At EC, look, you know what? A lot of these, it didn't help that the fact that we got David Moyes in as the direct replacement for Alex Ferguson. That was the wrong choice, of course. Absolutely dreadful choice. What these players needed, what Man United needed when Sir Alex Ferguson left, they needed a Jurgen Klopp, they needed a Jose Mourinho, they needed a Carlo Ancelotti, they needed a Pep Guardiola. One of those four would have been okay for Man United, to be honest with you guys. Absolutely. Even the likes, even managers you don't admire as much, I mean, who are more experienced than David Moyes, needed to enter that football club, because when David Moyes entered that football club, all them players right there had it all won. They won everything already. They were already champions many times, won Champions Leagues and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, they were never going to show the amount of respect for David Moyes. And I think that culture was born then, EC, absolutely. And then we started having players like Lingard and Pogba and stuff like that, who thought this was a playground, who thought they could dance after they've lost the game 24 hours before. You know what I mean? You know, as much as people say, oh, this is their culture, this is their dancing, they're just having fun. No, man. No, this is the thing where these fans go wrong. This is where they get it wrong. It's not about what he's dancing. And I don't care. I love dancing. I was in the music industry 20 years. I don't care about that. I care about the fact that you need to care about this football club. And if you lose a game the night before, I don't want you coming to training dancing like this. Do you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And backhands and high fives and stuff. I don't want that. I want you to be down in the dumps. I want you to be pissed off. I want you to be like, you know what? I'm not happy about that. We need to stop. We need to raise our standards. You know, and it wasn't there at that time. And I think at that time, the culture was infected the football club. That culture infected the football club. Big up. So, do you think we overhype players and fans? I think we have to calm. I don't think. I think there are some players that are extremely overhyped. Absolutely, yeah. That is no doubt about it, Ephraim. There is players I can give you, not only Man United, but players around the world who I think are a little bit overhyped. But you know what? That has always been the case. The pen is more mighty than the sword, Lebo. That's it, mate. You're getting me. You got it there. The pen. You see, I done well in school, didn't you? The pen is more mighty than the sword. Absolutely. It is. It is. Absolutely. And sometimes words are more mighty than the sword. And in this case, it is words in regards to Rashford and Sancho and these players coming back into the football club. They could disrupt this team, you know. They could disrupt the Ahmads, the Aiden Heavens, the Dorgus. They could disrupt them, you know. They could be a bad influence on them. This is why these guys need to be out of the football club. Absolutely. Big up, Lebo. Good to see you, mate. Bill, put it in the players' contracts that if they disrespect the club in any way on social media, that they will be fined. Which I don't know why it isn't done already, Bill. Look, Bill, I said it earlier on. If I was working at McDonald's, right, and I walked into McDonald's with a Burger King shirt on and a cap, what would McDonald's say to me? What would they do to me? They will call me in the office, right? They'll call me in the office and they'll say, that's gross misconduct. You know, you're misrepresenting the company. You can't wear that. Or you're sacked. Gross misconduct. You're misrepresenting the company. And that's what will happen. They won't look at me and say, oh, you know what? He's 17. You know, he's going to learn. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. But they might give you a warning at first. You know, but I'm telling you, you'll be in huge trouble if that happens. You know, at the end of the day. These players are ill-disciplined. They don't know when they're disrespecting the club. I actually don't think they know. I actually think they think that we're all maniacs. We're all idiots. We don't know what we're talking about. I actually think that. You know, we fight now with Aston Villa. No, Aston Villa are not our direct rivals. Of course, they're not our rivals, but they are a Premier League rival. They're a Champions League rival. They're a Europa League rival. You know, they can take money from us. You know, that's what I mean. They could take trophies from us. They're an FA Cup rival, a League Cup rival. You know, they can take things from us. That is what the rival. They're not local rivals. They're not big rivals, major rivals like Liverpool, Man United, etc. But they are rivals still. Premier League rivals, right? And some fans don't understand that. They don't quite grasp what a rival is. You know, they don't quite grasp that if you wear the colours of another team, you know, it is disrespectful. It's a slap in the face of the fans. You don't see Man City doing it. You don't see Arsenal doing it. You don't see Chelsea doing it. You know? They don't understand it, what the disrespect is. This is why I agree with you, Bill, that this should be in a contract. You disrespect the club, you put the club in disrepute, you get punished for it. Unfortunately, these things are not in a contract because the contract is all about them, what they want for their needs. And that's the problem that we're having these days, you know? Big up, Bill. EC, you could argue that some of the toxic players have infected the mind of Kobe Mainu. I saw a quiet kid who was now into a fashion icon and chilling with celebrities. EC, thank you very much. You know what I mean? And let's be honest with ourselves, Rashford as well. Rashford was a quiet kid. You know what I mean? A local quiet kid, a nice guy. Now look at him hanging around with likes of Rockefeller and people like that, basketball players. And it's too early for that stuff, man. It's too early for that. If they're too early in their careers for that, do you know what I mean? Earn something first, you know? And asking for big money contract, absolutely easy. Big up, Danny B. What's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Jamie, disappointing in Armour, to be honest. A Sunderland top, sure, Brighton. Why? What I see, a club that acts like we have a supply teacher and no headmaster. Everything just does whatever they want. And Jamie, but this is a culture that comes from the top. If the headmaster of the school is an absolute joke, right? What's going to happen at the bottom? You know, that's what's going to happen. At the end of the day, the Glazers, and then you got Ineos below them. If you got the headmaster, then you got the sub headmaster, and you know what I mean. Then you know that if they're a mess, if they're competent, you know what it's going to be infectious towards the bottom, isn't it? You know, and no manager has the tools, no matter how good the manager is, to fix this instantaneously. Do you know? You also good afternoon, see. Big up yourself. Afternoon. I hope you're doing well, Yorkshire Cowboy. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Ephraim. Sal, if Embrema and Cunha, the problem will be at the club. Embrema and Cunha, the problem will be the club. Yeah, the problem is the club, mate. Imagine half of these, half of having to be, and obviously the players, don't forget, the players get infected and they become the problem as well. Imagine half of these having to be a hod carrier. Bloody hell. Can you imagine that, Lebo? My goodness me. They'd be moaning all the way. God bloody pick up. Sal, if Embrema and Cunha did not work, it will be the club problem. It will be a problem, but yes, it will be a club. It will be a club problem. It will also be an infectious problem at the football club. But I firmly believe they will succeed at this football club. I do rate them very highly. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That quote, I was thinking of that quote, Lebo. Lebo's killing it today. You're killing it today. Absolutely. I agree with that quote. Absolutely. It's tough to get out of the bed to do road work at 5 a.m. when you're sleeping in silk pajamas. There you go. And you know what? I don't like silk pajamas, right? But you know what I would say is that it is really tough. Yeah. If you got a king size bed, you know, Hungarian pillows, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Proper feathers, mate. Proper feathers, mate. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And, you know, then you have to leave 5 in the morning. I used to leave 4 in the morning in the freezing cold, get a bus to work, working at St. George's Hospital in London. You know, being spat at, punched, you know, things like that, you know. I used to do that. Yeah. Freezing cold in the morning. Yeah. Yeah. You see? Tybog. Since we're posting quotes, this time next year, we mean you plonker, big up. One of my favorite programs, Tyborg. Guys, what is your favorite program? I mean, Only Fools and Horses. One of my favorites. I've seen every episode. Love it. Brilliant program. I wish they'd done another one, but obviously they're too old now. A lot of them have passed away. God rest their soul. Of course, I like Red Dwarf. I like Bottom, if you knew that. Rick Mile. All these old programs, I used to love them, man, back in the day. Man, I miss those days because those days were exciting. And I'll tell you why those days were exciting, because Man United was successful as well. Man United was successful and we were winning every week. And I remember on the Friday, I used to watch Friday TV and I used to think about Man United are playing Sheffield Wednesday or Man United are playing Coventry City at Old Trafford. And I think, yeah, it's going to be a good win today, Cantona. Da, da, da. It was fun times, guys. It was fun times. I wish you could have witnessed it. Rodney, absolutely. Play it nice and cool, son. Nice and cool. You know what I mean? Only sign players who want us. Absolutely, Daniel. Big up, Daniel. Hope you're doing well. Could be a breach of Snapdragon's Man United contract wearing a Villa shirt. Mark, the only thing is, though, what I would say, he could deny it's a Villa shirt. He could deny it. He could say it's an ordinary shirt because technically he hasn't turned around, you know, and he hasn't seen, he hasn't shown the actual logo or anything like that. So technically, he could say, no, it's not. Am I wrong? Tulip, what's going on, my friend? What are we doing? Well, hi, Sal. We better not sign Moise Keane. He has already flopped in the Premier League and isn't good enough. I agree with that, my friend. I've always agreed with that. We need Gyökeres or Osimhen. I agree with that too. We can only hope, mate. We can only hope. If Arsenal get you signed Osimhen, nab Sesko instead. I agree with that too. Sesko, yeah. And then we'll have a proper game at Old Trafford between Sesko and Gyökeres. You know what I mean? It was Sugar Ray, not Hagler. Big up, Daniel. Anyone remember Desmond's? Yes, I do. Less we say about that, the better, though, in regards to that. Big up the Desmonds. Bottom was a classic, Sal. Absolutely. What a time to be alive, guys. Yeah, you guys got Red Dwarf. I like Red Dwarf. You know, goodness, what time to be alive, man. What great times, weren't they? Absolutely. Father Ted, there you go. Father Ted was brilliant as well. You know what I used to hate? I used to hate on the Sundays. I used to hate Heartbeat. Remember Heartbeat? Heartbeat. Why do you miss when? Yeah. You know why I used to hate that? Because it used to remind me of going to school in the morning. Oh, because it was a Sunday. Horrible. Mark, where did that ball go, Anana? Where do you go? My football, ding, 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 ding. Where do you go? I want to know. My football, ding, 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 ding. Where do you go? I want to know. That should be Anana's new song, guys. Why don't we do that? Where do you go? My football. Absolutely. That's what we need to go because that is the song from last season. Where do you go? My football, ding, 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 ding. Oh, mate, I got it all day. I'm on fire today, guys. I'm on fire. Absolutely. Big up. I feel like Gyökeres ship has sailed. Why he should be second best signing? That is not profile we want. Big up, big up. Hesty, we cannot afford Sesko. Come on. We can. We got 250 million. Father Ted was brilliant. Oh, well, like a cup of tea. I wouldn't mind a cup of tea. Now, guys, thank you so much for joining me today, you absolute legends. And those who are new, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and smash a like on the video. You're absolute legends. Much love to you all. I will be back later on, tomorrow, actually, for Breaking Dawn. If nothing else breaks, if something breaks, I will be live. No matter what the time, I will be live, guys, for you guys. Have a great night, evening. Big up Bill, big up Lebo, big up everyone. Hesty, EC, everyone, Mark, Danny B, all of you in the chat, you absolute legends. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel again. And guys, please don't forget to smash a like on the way out. And don't forget to put your notifications on as well. I think that's it. Take it easy, guys. Have a great evening, night, morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Sal Warner. This is Chatterbox. See you soon. Peace.